Hello, dear. It's Heather, and you are watching Save Today with Heather J. I am somebody who has spent her entire adult life living paycheck to paycheck and being one life event away from financial crisis. In order to get out of that, I have decided it's time to create a budget. It's time to stick to a budget. And in order to make that a little bit more of a likely possibility, I did create this budgeting channel to invite others along who might want to share the journey with me. I do bring my creativity into the channel as a way to bring some peace and positivity for myself and some joy in this, and as a way to motivate myself to move forward. I will discuss whatever project I happen to be working on each month at the end of each of my videos as we move forward in the progress in my budgeting, as well as moving forward in the progress in this month's project. Today's video is going to be my week 2 spending check-in for August. For me, week 2 in August was the 4th through the 10th of August. I am a tiny bit behind filming some of these videos, and I am playing a game of catch up at this point in time where I am posting every day to try and get caught up to where I should be. So while today I'm filming my week 2 spending check-in, in reality, this is about when I should be filming my week 3 check-in. And you guys, at the time I'm filming this, have just seen, I have just released in any case, my monthly budget. So I'm definitely behind on my schedule, and I'm trying to post every day till we can get caught back up to where we are. So as far as what has been posted, we're roughly 2 weeks behind. As far as when I'm filming, I'm roughly 1 week behind. So hopefully by posting every single day, I will get caught up by the end of next week. And so which really would kind of be when I close out August, I should actually be on schedule. So we're going to be kind of posting every day, hopefully, to get caught up. So week 3, as I said, for me is from August 4th to August 10th. And when I'm doing these weekly check-ins, I'm checking my flexible spending, which for me is my groceries, my dining out, my transportation, which is both gasoline in the vehicle as well as bus trips to work, art, which is very important to me and needed its own category, and miscellaneous, which is just kind of a category where I lump all the things I didn't know to plan for, and then some of those one-off things where you have to go out of your way to go get that thing. So I had a lot of spending this week, and we'll go over that obviously as we go through. Some of this stuff, in looking back, I don't remember even happening. I was completely unaware, and that is why I'm creating the budget. That is why I'm doing these weekly check-ins, and that is why it's so important to have this reflection and look back. There are definitely times, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, where I don't even realize how much I've spent and could spend $200 in a day and not have a single thing to show for it. And that might be a slight exaggeration, and it might not, but having this budget, having this channel, forcing myself to look back and reflect and pay attention on not just a yearly or a quarterly basis, but weekly, is making me aware of things as they happen and giving me an opportunity to stop the downward spiral at a much sooner point. So let's get started right off the bat. The other thing is, what I'm noticing as I do these check-ins is that things are posting in my account. So I'm not a cash budgeter in any way. Everything I do with my debit card. And so when I go back and I check my account at the end of the week to see what that spending has been, any spending that happened after 5 p.m. on Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, those don't post until Monday or Tuesday. And so I will have a long series of things that are post dated Monday, but I didn't spend all of those things on Monday. And so let's take a look at what that looks like for me. On the 7th, in the dining out category, I went to Taco Bell and spent $9.62. That I vaguely remember that meal, and that would have definitely been something just for myself at that price. Again, on the 7th, again in the dining out category, I went to McDonald's and spent $18.66. That probably was for either two of us or a combined meal for the four of us. I will remind you guys, for those of you who weren't here, and again, because I'm so far behind schedule by the time you guys see this week, the week of August 4th to August 10th, was 2 weeks post-surgery. Again, not for myself, or a household member had surgery at the last week of July. And so as we moved into August, between my work and caring for that family member, and I was stretched thin emotionally and physically. But at week 2, this family member, number 1, was tired of being pent up, stuck at home and not being able to move around very much. And number 2, had a lot of post-op follow-up visits that impacted some of what we're seeing here. It had an effect. So this was probably on our way to or from an appointment, if I remember correctly. Again, on the 7th, again in the dining out category, a trip to Dairy Queen. And this one was absolutely just me. And I was taking a moment for myself. And I went into the restaurant and I sat there all by myself at a table and I ate. And this is one where I was like sick of having to work so hard. I was tired, I was frustrated, and I was just going to take a moment for myself. I got a 2-patty bacon cheeseburger. I got cheese curds, I got the dressing, I got a shake, I got a drink, I got all the things. And I spent $16.77 on myself. So that was one meal at one price. And when I ordered it, I knew I was splurging. When he told me the total, I kind of choked a little bit. I wasn't expecting it to be that much. I'm still in shock over the increase in the prices in dining out, even though this has been the situation for ages. Every time I get to the total, I expected that to be about a $12 meal, not a $17 meal. I ate every bite of it and I enjoyed every bite of it, but I had given myself $0 for dining out this month. So clearly we're having some issues. On the 7th, in the miscellaneous category, I went to True Value and I spent $4.35. I needed to get some shims and some wood pieces to kind of prop up some of my tall shelves and my big furniture pieces so that they weren't at risk of tipping over when I filled them up. And so that's what that $4.35 is. It's a couple of dowels to hold some of my furniture together and some shims to keep some of those taller pieces kind of propped up against the wall while I drilled those in. Then on the 7th, again, in the dining out category, I went to a new place called, I think it's called Beebs and Brew. I had never been there before. They have smash burgers. They were literally right next door to the True Value. I was starving and had been building furniture all day. It was my one day off from work that week. And so I took myself there and I got myself a bacon cheeseburger, and I got the upsized fries. Not a bigger fry, but they had a garlic aioli and some Parmesan cheese on them, and you paid an extra like $2 or whatever for the just not your basic fries. And that was $30.16. And I almost died when I got that. That's one meal for one person. I took myself out to eat and I spent $30, and I had just taken myself out to eat at Dairy Queen and spent $20. And those were the two transactions I remembered for dining out. And I was like, I just spent $50 in food on myself in literally 2 days. That's a bill from my debts and desires. That would have paid one of the bills that I'm concerned about. Am I really going to get this paid in time? So then I got really mad at myself and was like, what's the point of this? You're trying to get ahead. You need to stop that. And so this was kind of a wake-up call for me to get me out of my blind rut that I was in. And I know I get that way when I get stressed out and frustrated, and just too tired for any of it. And then again, on the 7th, in the dining out category, I went to Pizza Hut. Well, I ordered out Pizza Hut and got pizza and dessert and a salad or a pasta. And so that was $46.36. And that was obviously for more than just me. But again, what's the point here? The point is to stop spending on this and start paying bills. Once, something else that could have gone to a bill. I have a bill on there that I'm hoping to get paid this month. That's $41.66. That would have paid that right there. I'm not angry at myself, and I'm not going to sit here and beat myself up. That's something we all do to ourselves. This is just like an awareness. This is kind of taking the veil off my eyes and seeing the impact of what my own choices are doing to myself. On the 7th, in the dining out category, I went to Starbucks, and I don't feel bad about this transaction at all. I mentioned in one of my last couple of videos that I have been very lucky over the course of the last 4 to 6 weeks that each one of my paychecks has had something in it that has increased my wages. This particular day, I was working a double shift day. I was literally the opening manager. I worked all day long. I was the closing manager. I had somebody who was able to come in and do the management at around 11 o'clock. I took a break. I took myself to Starbucks. I got a second cup of coffee because I always have one coffee at home. And I got myself a breakfast sandwich. I 100% planned to do that. I knew there was no way I was going to make a 12-and-a-half-hour day on my single cup of coffee. And I don't feel bad about that transaction at all. While I am kind of kicking myself for some of these others up here. On the 7th, in the transportation category, I went and filled up the tank. I got gas at $39.44. I was very definitely on E at that point. And I've told you guys, I am somebody who waits until the light comes on, and then I figure out where the gas station is. And for whatever reason, inevitably, the gas light will come on as I'm coming home at the end of the day, 30 seconds, a minute after I have driven past the very last possible gas station option before I get to my house. So I'm not turning around to go fill up the gas tank. I go home, and then I leave the next day. And sometimes I remember that the gas tank is on and I get out early enough. And sometimes I'm just headed off to work, so now I've got to drive all the way back to work and figure it out on my way home. And that's what that was. I had driven it very, very low at that point and needed to fill that up. On the 7th, in the groceries category, I went to Kroger's and I spent $205.83. And this Kroger, I said that all of these on the 7th, those are transactions that all happened over the weekend and or Monday. Because the 7th was a Monday, and that's when the banking day opened up. When I spent this $30.16 at Beebs and Brew, immediately after I had spent $16.77 at Dairy Queen, I went the very next day, or the very next time I had time away from work, and I immediately went to the grocery store and did a big grocery store run and got all of the things, several different packages of meat, and I planned meals and spent $205. So this Beebs and Brew was the wake-up call I needed to get my act together, to get groceries in the house, even though I'm tired and I'm overwhelmed. This is not okay, and I needed to get myself some meals. Then on the 8th, in the miscellaneous category at Petco, I spent $8.62, and I had one Petco transaction last week as well. So one of those was bedding for the bottom of the cage, and one of those was toys, and I honestly don't remember which transaction was which, but that is what I spent there. And then on the 9th, once again, in the dining out category, went to Burger King, spent $23.71. This was most definitely on the way to or from a follow-up doctor's appointment visit, and this was most definitely all four of us. We went and sat in line in the drive-thru, and it was taking ages, and I finally backed up out of the drive-thru, and we parked and then went inside to do the order, and whoever was cooking the food was screwing everything up for everybody, and that's why that line was so long. Had to remake my sandwich twice to get it right on the third time. And then on the 10th, in the groceries category at Walmart, $28.76. And when I went to Walmart on this transaction, I actually returned some of the stuff that I had purchased and didn't need for surgery, all of those bandages and tapes. So this $28.76 is actually what the difference after that return was. So I took the return amount away from what I actually spent, and I was left with $28.76 spent more than what the amount I got back. And that was it for my spending in week 3. I pretty much lost the plot in week 3. If I hadn't done any dining out, I would have like 4 or 5 transactions this week. But that is 9 dining out transactions in a 7-day period. Absolutely out of control. Again, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. It's done. But I will just say that this was an eye-opening experience for me. And yeah, this is normal behavior for me. This is the behaviors I am trying to change. And I suspect, honestly, 2 years from now, I will have these kind of weeks that just need to remind me and open my eyes again. So let's go and see what this spending did with my weekly check-in. I did have to go back and redo these balance numbers for last week. Each time I get started on this, I forget that this page is not a paycheck page. This is a whole month page. I had given myself $560 in groceries for the month, which was $280 for the paycheck. And so when I initially filled these out with you guys for last week's check-in, I had done it based on my 2-week pay period. So when I got down here, I was out of money, but I wasn't out of months. So I had to go back and correct that. So just know that those numbers have changed where they needed to. Here comes the train again. Sorry about that. So in my groceries category, I had 2 transactions for $234.59 in the groceries category. In my dining out category, I had 7 transactions. So I just said 9. I guess it's 7 transactions in 7 days in dining out. I basically went out every single day of the week. That's out of control. I spent $156.19 in 1 week in dining out. I could have spent and paid for all 3 of the things that I was hoping I was going to get taken care of this month with just what I spent in dining out. I can't go undo that. I can't beat myself up about it, because honestly, if I get in my head and beat myself up about it and woe is me and poor me and I screwed up, I'm more likely to go screw up further. So we're not going to we're not going to beat ourselves up. We're going to look at that and go, wow, that was a lesson. In my transportation, just the one transaction for $39.44. I did not need to fill up my gas last week, so I still have $120.56 in my budget for the month for transportation. Art, once again, I did not spend anything in this category. I will tell you though, as I was sitting there working on this, I was thinking about maybe going to go get some fabric to use on the other side of these pot holders, and I've kind of talked myself out of it, but I was very eager to go shopping for my art to work on this. My boxes are still not completely unpacked, and I'm being very, very slow about unpacking this time because I'm kind of inventorying everything I own in my art categories. Not so much in my kitchen things, but I know that I want to start my own business. I know that the supplies I have are part of that, and I know that from a tax perspective, I need to have a record of that, of the things I'm using. That's going to help with cost of goods sold and how much my business is worth and all of those things. So as I'm unpacking each box, I'm inventorying what I have. I haven't actually gone to talk to a CPA yet. I don't have any kind of spreadsheet, so I'm sure that everything I'm doing right now, I'm doing wrong, but it's going to be much easier to do it box by box by box than to unload everything and then try and go back into each section and inventory it. So because of that, long story, I don't yet have all of the fabric options out that I could potentially use for the other side of these pot holders when they're done. So that was the excuse that I was giving myself to, well, let's just go look at Joann's and see if we can find a thick canvas that would work for that. So obviously I'm going to try and control myself a little bit longer and see if I can't push past that and get something out of my boxes that will work, because Lord knows I have a bunch of stuff that will work. This is all scrap. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And then in the miscellaneous category, I did spend two transactions. I spent $12.97. One was for bird supplies and one was for hardware to build my furniture. That being told, I did spend $443.19 this week, which leaves me with only $137.18 left in my flexible spending estimate for the month. Obviously, I'm going to go over that. Obviously, I'm going to end up in the red. I've got a whole lot of red already on the page. But let's see if I can't reel in the dining out and get that stopped. Let's see how that goes. Let's see what we can do to control and fix. I can't undo this damage, but I can stop it from happening further. So that is where I'm at the end of my week 2 flexible spending check-in. Some disappointing things, but some lessons learned, and that's always a good thing. So then let's talk about what's going on with my craft behind us. What am I working on? I am trying to take some pockets from some jeans that I have harvested and worked on other things and turn them into pot holders. These don't look a whole lot different today than they did yesterday, except that I undid everything I did yesterday and did more work. So yesterday I just had my little coin pocket stitched to this larger piece that had the back pocket. Today I actually went and added other fabric to the sides of these coin pieces. So I had to undo the coin piece, add the fabrics to the sides, and then restitch that. These will be cut into smaller pieces because I'm not going to have a pot holder that's this big. That's unwieldy to be getting things in and out of the oven. But I don't know at this point how I'm going to do that. Is it going to be a square that that has the points on each end and here on the side? Or is it going to be a rectangle where the points are over here? And is it going to be different for each one? So that's kind of the next step of what I'm looking for. And each of these is likely to be a little bit different. I did try and kind of keep the materials that were around this coin pocket to be very similar to the coin pocket, more so than similar to the other side. And I don't know how much of that you're able to see with that, but that's where they're all at now. So they're all going to be slightly different sizes. And that's because my coin pocket and my back pants pocket are all a little bit different. And I don't know at this point if I'm going to have the same material as the back side of all of these, or if they're going to just be some differences or everything different. So anytime I'm doing something where I'm prototyping it out of my head, there's a lot of stops and starts, and I don't really have the final thing figured out. It would be much easier if somebody else, if I was using somebody's pattern and they told me to cut this material this big and sew it to here, and you know, these would all be done in probably about 3 hours. Honestly, no, I don't sew that fast. But this, what you see here, that little tiny bit of subtle difference from yesterday to today, is really about 4.5 hours worth of work. And you wouldn't know it to see that difference there. That looks like, you know, if you're not the one sitting at the machine doing it, that looks like maybe 10 minutes worth of difference. And so it's not, and we're going to keep working forward. And I think I'm just going to do these 6. I think that's my whole goal this month. I just took all of the coin pockets I had, and that's what set my thing. And so I'm doing all of them at once. The smart thing to do would have been to do 1, learn all of the mistakes from that 1, and then take those lessons to the other 5. Because if I had done just the 1, I may have realized, oh, I'm just going to have to undo it. Let's get these other pieces sewn on first. But you know, that's what we do when we prototype. And I am at a point in my crafting journey that just following somebody else's work is not where my mind is engaged. And so I'm going to be, plus there's not a whole lot of, when you're working with recycling and upcycling fabric like this, there aren't any patterns, there aren't any rules, because each piece you're working with has such minute differences. Even these 6 here, you can see, they're all going to be a little different because what I'm working with is all a little bit different. I can't just go buy this off of the bolt and make it fit exactly. So that all takes a little bit of time and a whole lot of mental strength. So that is where I'm at with my budget for this week and with my craft for this week. And again, I am playing a game of catch up. So I do plan to see you guys again tomorrow. And then it would be my week, my paycheck number 1 closeout. So we'll be closing out that. Hopefully you'll see that the day after you see this one, which is going to be a week after I'm actually filming them, because right now I have 4 videos in the queue waiting to be released. The video I released last night got hung up in the process, and so I had to delete it and re-upload it because it sat at 43% overnight, and for my first hour and a half this morning it just stayed at 43% loaded. So I don't know what happened there. So that video was my paycheck number 1 setup video. And so I don't know if any of you even realized that that was delayed, because I had planned to release it overnight and it didn't come out until late morning. Anyway, I'm rambling now. I want to thank you for joining me on this journey. I want to thank you for all of your comments and checking in. I appreciate every one of you being here with me. Wherever you are today and whatever you're doing, please have some fun. Bye-bye now.